they're meant to be moving. They're meant to be playing, having those peer-to-peer interactions, problem solving, all that stuff. Some of the best moments and some of the most memorable moments from my childhood at school was recess, when whether we were playing on the playground or tossing the football around or playing soccer, we were moving, we were talking, we were laughing, we were playing. And especially for our young elementary age kids, that's really what it's all about, is getting them moving. And really the great part about my bill is that it expands the opportunity for recess to be up to 60 minutes a day, but it provides lots of flexibility to individual schools on how they want to do that. They can do 3 20-minute recesses. They could do 2 30-minute recesses. However they want to break it up, it allows them to have up to 60 minutes of recess per day.
Now, I'm guessing that what might happen is that you would either have to take something else away or make the school day longer. How do we shoehorn this 60 minutes into the current day?
Yeah, certainly. So we're not looking to expand the school day. That is not the goal of the legislation. The school day is set as it is, and we're not looking to move the start time or the end time. However, we are looking to be more efficient. For example, if you have a 60-minute block instruction for math, are kids really as focused in those final 10 minutes as they were during those first 10 minutes? Well, of course not. Especially, we're talking about third graders and fourth graders. These are kids with lots of energy, and it's just super important that they're able to get up and moving throughout the school day. So maybe instead of a 60-minute block instruction for math, it's cut down to 55 minutes. But for those 55 minutes, if the kids got their wiggles out during a recess and they got to play, there's a lot of research that has shown that they're able to focus better when they are in the classroom, so that the time that they do spend in math class, for example, that they're able to get more out of it, and they're able to learn more effectively than they were if they were just sitting and had less opportunity to be moving. So really, it's all about increasing efficiency. There are only so many hours in a day. I get that. There's lots of really important things that need to be covered with reading, writing, arithmetic, all sorts of things. That's super important. We need to uphold high standards for our students to make sure that they are set up for success for their futures as they go on to middle school and high school and adulthood. But really, it's all about efficiency and how can we get the best bang for our buck for every minute that our kids are in school.
And the bill would go beyond just creating this new mandatory 60 minutes throughout the course of the day. It would also ban screens and other personal electronic devices during that time. You couldn't be doing that at any point.
Right. So I also want to clarify, it's not a mandate.
Okay.
So under DPI's current administrative rules, they basically set the cap at 30 minutes a day for recess. This bill simply says that schools can provide up to 60 minutes of play each day. So if schools don't want to do it, they don't have to. So it's up to the schools to implement. It's just the state saying, hey, this is a great option, and the research has shown that it does improve learning outcomes, and it's good for kids' mental health and for their wellness and all that. And you're 100% right when it comes to screens. Like I mentioned earlier, kids spend plenty of time in front of screens. I would argue too much time. Technology has been very beneficial in many ways. I'm not trying to poo-poo technology here. Technology is here to stay, and kids should learn and all that. But it's all about moderation. That there should be time when kids step away from a screen and they're able to have those peer-to-peer interactions. And those happen at recess. And the research has shown that rather than an adult just instructing all day and telling kids everything that they need to do, when they're able to figure it out for themselves and problem solve, if there's a a minor dispute. Say, you're playing football in fourth or fifth grade, and there's a dispute about whether or not Johnny stepped out of bounds. Well, you have to figure that out amongst your peers. It's not something where an adult has to always get involved. Those problem-solving skills for kids are just so important for their growth and their development. So we want them to be active. We want them to be moving. We don't want this to be just another opportunity for them to play games on an iPad or their Chromebook, or to watch the best plays from the Super Bowl yesterday. We want them to be playing and having these play-based experiences themselves.
And just a personal aside, I used to volunteer at an elementary school, and I would tell people, only half joking, the best cardio workout is playing football at noon with fifth graders, because it's nothing but everybody go deep every play. You're just doing wind sprints the whole time.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun. It wasn't that long ago I was tossing the football around at recess, and it's really great. It gets their imaginations going. It gets them moving. Gets their heart rate up. It's really good for their mental health, for their physical health, and overall wellness. However they choose to play. For a lot of guys, a lot of boys, football's a great option. But there's tag, soccer, playing on the playground, whatever. It's super important to get the kids moving.
Our guest on Community Comment today is State Representative William Penterman of Eustisford. We need to take a quick break here, but we'll be right back. You're listening to 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
Stay tuned to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge, presented by Professional Floor Covering.
And we are back back with more community comment here on 95.3 WBEV in the Daily Dodge TV studios. Here's Terry Bell.
Thank you very much, Jake. And before I forget again, I want to invite anybody listening to join the program. You can call us or text us at 920-887-9595. You can also call the WBEV studio line at 885-4446. Another piece of legislation that recently passed the Assembly would prohibit foreign adversaries from acquiring any agricultural or forestry land in Wisconsin. Is this I take it this is a national security measure? Is there evidence that this is something that our enemies around the world are fixing to do?
Yeah, so unfortunately, this is a problem here in Wisconsin, that foreign adversaries such as China, Iran, North Korea, Cuba, Russia, they have taken an interest in buying Wisconsin farmland, Wisconsin forestry land. And why they might be doing that, I think your guess might be as good as mine, but it's not for our benefit, I can tell you that. So it's completely inappropriate. It shouldn't be happening. From my perspective, there's two reasons. Like you mentioned, the national security standpoint. There's no reason why they should be having a foothold in our land here in Wisconsin. And secondly, with affordability and the cost of everything going up, why should Wisconsinites have to compete with foreign adversaries on the price of land or real estate here in Wisconsin? That doesn't make any sense. So my bill looks to eliminate any foreign adversary, like I said, China, Iran, North Korea, Russia, Cuba, from owning agricultural or forestry land here in Wisconsin. And we had an amendment on the bill that also would include any real estate. So, whether it's the first couple looking to buy, or a young couple looking to buy their first home, whether someone's looking to upsize or downsize or whatnot, you shouldn't have to be competing with the People's Republic of China for real estate and for land here in Wisconsin. So current law prohibits these foreign adversaries from owning more than 640 acres. My bill would bring that to zero. Just no ownership by foreign adversaries. And I want to be clear, we're not talking about some of our partners. We've got some great allies in Europe and other places throughout the globe. We've got cheesemakers, from the Netherlands or from Belgium, and some of them, they've got ownership in some of the factories here in Wisconsin, and they're great partners to have, and that's great. This bill does not affect them. We're merely talking about the enemies of the United States of America: China, Iran, North Korea, Russia, and Cuba.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It's my understanding that Wisconsin law already limits non-U.S. ownership of farmland. So what does this bill address that is not covered by current law?
Right. So under current law, unfortunately, foreign adversaries can purchase up to 640 acres. And that's a lot of land. I grew up on a small dairy farm that was 120 acres, and that's nearly 5 times that. So that's a lot of land for the People's Republic of China to be owning, or any foreign adversary or an agent of one of our foreign adversaries. So we're looking to expand on, I think, what is unfortunately too much of a weak current law, to really close that loophole that they shouldn't have any foothold here in Wisconsin for both those national security reasons and just it's a simple matter of fairness. Why should our citizens have to compete with our foreign adversaries for Wisconsin land?
And I think you addressed this a moment ago, but let me make sure I have got you clearly that this would still allow legitimate international investment in Wisconsin real estate.
That is Completely, yep, 100%. For example, in my district, so I represent southern Dodge County and northern Jefferson County. And in the city of Jefferson, we have a really great partner in Kikkoman. They make different types of soy sauce and other soy sauce type products. And they just, last summer, had a big groundbreaking on a new facility in the city of Jefferson that they're going to be expanding operations here in the United States. And what a great investment opportunity that it's going to benefit Jefferson County, the city of Jefferson, the residents. That's a lot of really good, high-paying jobs. That's more tax base that's coming into the area. That's great. And they're a Japanese-based company. We have a strong relationship with our Japanese partners. They wouldn't be affected by this. You know, we welcome folks who want to bring overseas jobs back to Wisconsin, back to the United States. That's great. However, when it comes to the People's Republic of China, that's not appropriate because we know they have ulterior motives and they are our enemy, and that is not something that is appropriate for foreign adversaries to be having a foothold here in Wisconsin.
The bill now goes to the Senate, as I understand it, and the session is winding down quickly. Will this be a priority in the other chamber?
I certainly hope so. In the Assembly, we've been super busy this session. We passed many bills, a lot of great bills, including this one. They'll go on to the Senate, and we're for consideration there, where I'm certainly going to be pushing for it. And then, if it makes it to the governor's desk, I certainly hope he would see the value in it and he'd sign it. This session, I certainly haven't always seen eye to eye with the governor, as sometimes he vetoes bills and sometimes he'll sign them. This session already, he's vetoed 2 of my other bills, and I'm disappointed about that. But I'm optimistic that there's still legislation out there that will pass the Assembly and the Senate that'll make it to his desk that he will sign.
Our guest today on Community Comment is State Representative William Penterman, Republican of Hustisford. We need to take a break for the news now, but we'll be right back. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
And hot off the presses here as you are listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam, and the Slam at the Dam are going to be live this Saturday, February 14th at Beaver Dam High School, the field house over there on 500 Gold Street, of course, with presenting video sponsors JB Mechanical and Summit Automotive. For the game schedule here, you got Watertown versus Waukesha South at 11, Monona Grove and Hartford at 12:45, 2:30 is Seymour and Lake Mills, Slinger and Waupun at 4:15, Freedom versus Lakeside Lutheran at 6, and 7:45 Beaver Dam versus Monroe. Tickets are $6 for general admission. Seniors get in for just $2. And now, without further ado, we will send it down to the Daily Dodge TV studios with Terry Bell for more of today's Community Comment.
Thank you very much, Jake, and welcome everybody back to Community Comment. Tomorrow on the show, we'll be welcoming Jana Stevens of the Beaver Dam Recreation Department. She and I will be talking about all the great opportunities that Beaver Dam provides to get out and enjoy your life, not only around town, but around the world, too. More on that on Community Comment tomorrow morning from 10 to 11 on 95.3 WBEV. This morning, we're talking with State Representative William Penterman, Republican of Eustisford, about legislation in this very busy legislative session. Very short one, typically in even-numbered years. The legislature is very busy in the spring as they get ready to campaign for elections in the fall. One recent bill is a bipartisan bill, would create a new state income tax deduction for certain military pay received by members of the National Guard and Reserves. So what's the problem that this bill helps address?
Yeah, thanks, Terry. So backing up a little bit, our state is in a really good fiscal position overall. So right now, the state is projected to have about a $2 billion surplus over the next biennium. And that's great news. That means the economy is humming along and the state is in an overall good financial position. However, if there's a surplus, that means we're taxing too much. So for me, I want to look for how can we cut taxes. And there's a few approaches that the legislature's taken. So this session, as part of the budget, we decreased the middle income tax bracket. So individuals who are filing their taxes are definitely going to see more of their hard-earned money back in their pockets as a result of that. And also, as a result of the bipartisan state budget, retired couples can exempt their first $48,000 from their state income taxes. And that single filers can exempt up to $24,000 from their state income taxes. It's real, meaningful income tax relief because there's, we all know that the price of things have gone up over the last 5 years. Inflation was really, really high in the early 2020s, and unfortunately, those high prices have stuck around. They're stubbornly still high, and a lot of people are feeling the pinch. And that includes members of our military. So right now, under Wisconsin law, members of the National Guard, active duty service members, and members of the reserve component in the military, while they're out on deployment, they don't pay income tax on their deployment pay. However, we have a number of active duty members in both reserve and different components and our National Guard. They're on different training missions, they're on drill weekends, and they have a very inconsistent income tax policy here in Wisconsin that sometimes our National Guard and Reserve members are paying income tax, sometimes they're not. So it's a little confusing for getting all that straightened out. So what my bill would do is it would exempt Wisconsin income tax for all military members here in the state. And we certainly wouldn't be the first state to do this. There's a few other states that have already gone through with it. So we're looking to remain competitive. And, Wisconsin's a great place to work, live, and raise a family. And we definitely want to attract military members from other parts of the country to come and live in Wisconsin to maintain that competitiveness.
If you'd like to join the conversation on community comments, you can call or text us at 920-887-9595, or you can call the WBEV studio line at 885-4446. One other benefit of this bill, it would perhaps make Wisconsin more competitive with other states when it comes to recruiting and retaining military service members.
Yes, I mean, there's lots of reasons to love Wisconsin, and we want to make our tax code another one of those reasons. That, our service members really do so much for us and for our country. Every day we get to wake up in this country in the land of the free and the home of the brave, and we have our service members to thank for that. And so it's one way that not only are we staying competitive with other states and trying to attract more of our nation's heroes to Wisconsin, but it's also a way that we can say thanks, and thank you for our freedoms. It's something that isn't going to cost the state all that much money. It's not nearly the largest tax cut that we've had this session. It's a simple way that we can say thank you for your service, for those currently serving. And this really expands off of a number of other tax cuts that we've done here in Wisconsin this session. Also part of the budget, we eliminated the state sales tax on electricity and natural gas, making it completely year-round tax exempt for all utilities for electricity and natural gas. It used to be that from November through April, natural gas and electricity were exempt, but now, due to the good bipartisan work, all year round, all Wisconsin residents will no longer pay any state sales tax on electricity and natural gas. And that's huge. I mean, it's putting more money back in people's pockets, because I firmly believe that individuals can make the best decisions with their own money, far better than definitely the federal government can, but also the state government.
No one would argue that active military is certainly deserving of every break we can give them. I wonder, though, if we're expanding tax exemptions, where does it give? Can we afford a tax exemption? Are we not placing the burden on other taxpayers, or perhaps cutting back on government services, so which people have come to expect?
Yep, certainly we're not cutting any services. In the state budget, we had an increase for special education funding, roads, bridges. All the agencies in Wisconsin, they all got an increase that was adjusted for inflation, so that they can continue to do what they do. Both school funding and Medicaid are some of the biggest things that Wisconsin spends money on. And, we definitely want to keep our safety net strong and all that. But also for the hardworking people of Wisconsin, they need to see relief as well. And I think this is a pretty good segue into a couple other bills that the Assembly passed this session real quick. And that is mirroring the federal legislation for no tax on tips. So individuals making up to their first $25,000 of tips that they make, they won't pay any state income tax on that money. And then also folks who make overtime, with overtime pay, they're making time and a half. Under the legislation that passed the Assembly, workers wouldn't pay state income tax on that extra half a time. They'd still be paying tax on the first part, the time, but not the half part, if that makes sense.
Very good. We're talking with State Representative William Penterman of Hustisford. We need to take another break here, but we'll be right back. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
That sound you're welcome back to Community Comment. And for the last segment for today's Community Comment, we send it down to the Daily Dodge TV studios with Terry Bell.
Thank you so much, Jake, and welcome back to Community Comment. Our guest today is Representative William Penterman of Eustisford. If you have a question or a comment of the representative, we invite you to join the conversation. You can call us or text us at 920-887-9595, or you can call the WBEV studio line at 885-4446. You have a package of legislation meant to improve school bus safety in Wisconsin. A number of different measures aimed at protecting students and enhancing accountability on the road. I'll let you finish a thought and tell us all about this legislation.
Certainly. Appreciate it. So school bus safety is something that's very near and dear to my heart. Kids are our most precious cargo, and unfortunately, we've seen too many preventable accidents involving children as they're entering and exiting a stopped school bus. It's current law in Wisconsin that all vehicles must stop at least 20 feet back from a stopped school bus with its stop arm extended and its red warning lights are flashing. Last session, I was very proud to author legislation that increased the penalty for illegally passing a stopped school bus. That fine hadn't been increased since the 1980s, before I was born. So it was well past time to align the fine to match the severity of the offense. So that passed both the Assembly and the Senate and was signed by the governor. So the fine for illegally passing a school bus for the first offense is $500, and then the second and subsequent offenses is $1,000. So this session, we wanted to kind of expand on, school bus safety. So I offered legislation that focuses on education. I was shocked to learn that, unfortunately, in Wisconsin's driver's education courses, which many teens take a part of, I was in driver's education not all that long ago myself, but unfortunately, school bus safety is not covered. So under my bill, all driver's education courses that are taught here in Wisconsin must include instruction relating to student crossing, school bus lights, when you're supposed to stop for a stopped school bus, including how that's determined by if there's different highway configurations and all that. So that will be covered. There's no minimum that you have to spend X number of minutes talking about school bus legislation, or school bus safety, but it does have to be covered. And I think that's a really good step in the right direction.
Yeah, that's somewhat surprising to me. But even though it's not part of driver's ed education in Wisconsin, I mean, people ought to know. And I'm probably as confounded by this as you are. Why does this persist to be a problem? Why doesn't anyone know enough to stop when those stop signs are out and the red lights are flashing? It just seems like basic common sense. Why are people still ignoring these signs?
Unfortunately, it's two things. One, people, unfortunately, too much are impatient and they're in a hurry, and that they think, well, whatever I have going on is more important than keeping our kids safe. And so, I get it. We're all busy. We live very busy lives, but it's so important to just slow down, take a moment. You see the stopped school bus, so that kids can safely get on and off of the school bus. And unfortunately, the second part is there are people who have said that they just did not know, which, to your point, is shocking, because you'd think it would be common sense if there is a stop arm out that is flashing red lights, that you would stop. But unfortunately, some people, we've seen unfortunate examples where they'll try to pass the school bus on the right side which is one of the most dangerous things that can happen because that's where kids get on the school bus, is on the right side. So there's been too many stories and unfortunate tragedies that we've heard about where kids are getting killed or injured in these situations that are completely preventable. They're just so preventable if folks just be patient, slow down. We'll all get to where we're going in a very timely manner.
One of your bills would allow school buses to be outfitted with audio recording devices. How would that be helpful?
Yes. So current law in Wisconsin allows for video recording on school buses in Wisconsin. And the reason for that is, sometimes there is misbehavior of students on school buses, and that's captured by video. But unfortunately, the state law is vague about whether or not audio recording can be included. So what this bill does is seeks to just clarify that if school districts want to record audio along with video recording on school buses, they may do so. It's not a mandate. It's not the state telling them they must. I've heard some concerns with privacy and whatnot, and I understand that. But a lot of the technology that new school buses come with for video recording also come with audio recording. So we've seen from some of the school bus companies that they have to spend extra money to disable the audio features to just have the video features. So really, if you're going to have the video features, it makes sense that if the equipment already comes with the audio features, that be allowed under state law as well.
This would seem to address safety within the school bus, inside the school bus. This is a separate matter from, other drivers driving safely around school buses. I'm sorry about that. If I'm misunderstanding.
Right. Yep. This is safety of the students inside the school bus.
Okay.
Because, unfortunately, there are misbehavior issues on school buses, and it's just not feasible in many situations to have extra adults on a school bus to be helping supervise behavior. So, unfortunately, some kids, they misbehave, and, we want to make sure that, we can teach them right from wrong and get them, on track and doing the right thing. This is just another tool in the toolbox for school districts and school bus companies to be able to do just that.
What do you hear from school bus drivers about, behavior inside the bus and, other drivers outside the bus?
Yeah, unfortunately, these problems still persist, and that's why we're trying to move the ball in the right direction with this. That there's just, if you ask almost any school bus driver, they will have stories for you about being passed illegally on the left or the right side by impatient drivers. That it's really unfortunate that it's something that continues to be a problem here in Wisconsin. That's why this session we're going after the educational piece, and then also just making sure our kids can remain safe on the school bus as well, and just giving our school districts and those companies another tool in the toolbox to be able to do just that.
Do bus drivers in rural districts face any unique challenges compared to bus drivers in bigger communities?
A lot of the challenges are similar. Impatient drivers who are going too fast. They'll get too close to the school buses when they're stopped. But also, out in the rural areas, sometimes you've got hills. And there's roads that are unmarked, and it's 55 miles an hour, so the speed's a little bit more of a factor. My message for everyone is just be aware of your surroundings, maintain the situational awareness, and we're all going to get to where we need to go. It's going to take a lot longer, and it's going to be a lot more expensive if there's an accident involved or there has to be a fine involved. We want to keep our kids safe. We want to keep all our drivers safe on our roads. Statistically, there's far too many accidents in Wisconsin, And, from a state perspective, we want to take common sense steps to prevent as many of those as possible. But at the end of the day, every driver bears some responsibility for their safety on Wisconsin roadways.
Just a minute or two left in the show. I was wondering what opportunities your constituents might have in the coming days and weeks to be able to meet you, talk to you about some of their questions or concerns.
Certainly. So everyone is welcome to call my office. My office phone number is 608-237-9138. I've got two outstanding staffers, Catherine and Charlie, and they love to hear from folks. And after folks call, I try to call as many folks back as I possibly can because I represent 60,000 individuals in the Wisconsin State Assembly in southern Dodge County and northern Jefferson County. I love going out and about and knocking on doors and having personalized conversations with folks, but I love it when people chime in. You can also email my office at rep.penterman@legis.wisconsin.gov. I also have a website. People are more than welcome to send me a form email or to fill out the form to send me an email. That I do get those. I do read those, and I really appreciate it when folks chime in.
Representative William Penterman, it's been an hour well spent. The time flew right by.
It certainly did. And if I may, just real quick, I want to give a very special shout out to my mother, Lori Penterman. She attended the Lakeland Rabbit Breeders Association show in Elkhorn this past weekend, and she won Best in Show for the first time ever with her Satin Angora Senior Doe. There's 53 distinct rabbit breeds, and she won with hers. So congratulations to my mother, Lori Penterman.
Congratulations indeed. Well, thank you so much, Representative Penterman. We'll have you back on soon.
Thank you very much for having me.
You've been listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.